What if I told you that your life could change completely in just 3 days? That everything you've been struggling with, your doubts, your fears, your self-limiting beliefs, could be flipped upside down with one simple shift in mindset. Today, I'm not here to give you another list of tips or empty promises. I'm here to challenge you, to wake you up, and to show you that the power to transform your life doesn't lie in luck, circumstances, or waiting for the right moment. It lies within you. In the next 3 days, if you commit fully, you will see the world differently, and more importantly, you will see yourself differently. Because real change starts with one thing: the way you think. Most people go through life thinking change is something that happens to them, not because of them. They wait for the right opportunity, the right timing, or the right people to step in and make things better. But the truth is, the only thing standing between where you are now and where you want to be is your own mindset. One shift in the way you think, one conscious decision to see the world differently, can alter every action you take, every choice you make, and ultimately, the entire course of your life. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's the power of perspective. Imagine waking up tomorrow seeing problems not as obstacles, but as opportunities, seeing criticism not as an attack, but as information, seeing fear not as a signal to stop, but as a compass pointing to where you need to grow. That is the power of mindset. It transforms ordinary moments into lessons, challenges into victories, and hesitation into action. People spend years waiting for external change, when in reality, it starts in the quiet of their own mind. When you change the lens through which you view life, everything shifts. Your relationships, your career, your confidence, even the way the world responds to you. This shift doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require talent, money, or connections. All it requires is a decision, the decision to take full responsibility for your thoughts, for your reactions, and for the trajectory of your life. Your mindset is the operating system running your life, and if it's outdated, slow, or infected with self-doubt, everything else will feel broken. But when you update it, when you decide to think like someone capable of growth, resilience, and success, you unlock a version of yourself that has always existed but was buried under fear, habits, and limiting beliefs. And here's the critical part. One mindset change doesn't just influence a single day, it creates a ripple effect. The way you think today shapes the choices you make tomorrow, which shape the results you get the next day, and eventually, the life you live. A small, conscious shift in perspective can turn a mediocre day into a breakthrough, a stagnant career into opportunity, and a doubtful mind into unwavering confidence. This is why elite performers, top leaders, and people who achieve the seemingly impossible all have one thing in common. They understand that their inner dialogue and mindset determine their outer reality. So, I'm not asking you to reinvent yourself overnight. I'm asking you to recognize that the power to change your life is already inside you. The first step is simple. Decide to see things differently. Decide to embrace challenges, to learn from every setback, and to believe that your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever own. In just 3 days, with focus, commitment, and clarity, this single shift can ignite a transformation that feels like a lifetime of progress condensed into hours. Your thoughts are not just thoughts. They are seeds. Plant the right ones, and the life you've been waiting for will begin to grow. Most people live their lives on autopilot, moving from one day to the next without truly noticing what's running their thoughts, their actions, and their decisions. We blame circumstances, we blame others, and we blame the world. But the truth is, the first step to real change is awareness. You cannot change what you don't see. You cannot grow if you don't first look at yourself honestly, without excuses, without justification. Awareness is the mirror that reflects not just your strengths, but also the habits, beliefs, and patterns that have been quietly keeping you small. Think about the thoughts that replay in your mind every day. Which ones are lifting you up, and which ones are quietly tearing you down? Awareness is not about judgment. It's about observation. It's about catching yourself in those moments where fear, doubt, or self-limiting beliefs take over. Most people are completely unaware of how often they tell themselves they are not enough, not ready, not capable. These thoughts shape every choice, every action, and every outcome in your life. Awareness means seeing these thoughts as they happen, acknowledging them, and refusing to let them control you. But awareness is more than noticing your thoughts. It's noticing your habits, your patterns, and the people and environments you allow into your life. Which routines serve you and which ones drain you? Which relationships energize you and which ones subtly sabotage your growth? Most people are unaware of how much their environment shapes their reality. They are unaware of the small daily decisions that, when repeated over time, either build momentum toward success or trap them in mediocrity. Awareness means paying attention, noticing the invisible forces that dictate your behavior, and taking responsibility for the choices you have allowed yourself to make. This is not an easy step. It requires courage because awareness often brings discomfort. You will notice patterns you don't like. You will notice truths you've been avoiding. You may feel the weight of past mistakes or the sting of missed opportunities. But this is exactly why it is so powerful. Awareness awakens you from autopilot. It forces you to see that the life you are living is a reflection of your current thoughts and habits. Once you see it clearly, you gain the power to change it. The key is to commit to observing without judgment, to journal your thoughts, to track your actions, and to reflect on what is and isn't serving you. In this awareness, you begin to see opportunities for change, moments where a different choice could lead to a different outcome. It is the first spark of transformation, the moment where possibility meets clarity. And when you step into this awareness fully, you set the stage for the next days, where responsibility, action, and growth will build on this foundation. Awareness is not the change itself, but without it, change is impossible. It is the awakening that opens the door to everything you want to become. Once you have awakened to the patterns, thoughts, and habits that shape your life, the next step is radical responsibility. Most people stop at awareness, but awareness alone does not create change. Real transformation begins when you take complete ownership of your life. No more excuses, no more blaming circumstances, other people, or the so-called unfairness of the world. Radical responsibility is about looking in the mirror and saying, "This is on me." Every outcome, every success, every failure, I am the architect of it all. This is where most people resist. It's easier to point fingers, to say, "If only I had the right opportunity," or "If only someone supported me," or "If only things were different." But every time you hand over your power to external forces, you give away the control that could change everything. When you embrace radical responsibility, you take back your power. You stop being a passenger in your own life and become the driver, steering your choices, your actions, and ultimately your results. It is a mindset of sovereignty, and it is the single most powerful tool for anyone serious about transformation. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself or feeling guilty about past mistakes. It means acknowledging them, learning from them, and using them as fuel. Every setback, every failure, every disappointment becomes a lesson rather than a chain that holds you back. You stop waiting for permission to succeed. You stop hoping that the world will align in your favor. Instead, you focus on what you can control: your mindset, your effort, your consistency, and your choices. This is where freedom begins. The moment you stop blaming and start owning, doors open that you never even knew existed. Radical responsibility also changes how you see others. When you stop blaming people for your circumstances, you stop being reactive and start being proactive. You see relationships, mentors, and challenges as tools rather than obstacles. You stop playing the victim and start playing the game of life like a strategist. Every action you take is intentional, every decision is aligned with your goals, and every setback is an opportunity to prove your resilience. People who practice radical responsibility don't wait for things to happen. they make them happen. The power of this mindset is immediate. Once you fully own your life, your energy changes. You stop wasting time, emotion, and effort on complaining or resentment. You redirect that energy into action, into growth, into results. It's a shift that transforms not only your internal world, but also your external reality. You begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles, solutions where you once saw problems, and potential where you once saw limitation. Radical responsibility is not just a mindset. It is a life-altering decision to stop being a victim and start being the creator of your own destiny. This is the essence of day 2. No excuses, no blaming, no waiting, just ownership, just power, just the unwavering understanding that your life is the sum of your choices, and the choices are yours to make. Once you embrace this, you are unstoppable. Awareness and responsibility are powerful, but without action, they remain ideas in your mind. Day 3 is about moving from thought to execution. Mindset alone cannot change your life. It must be paired with decisive, intentional action. The difference between those who dream and those who achieve is not knowledge or talent. It is doing. You can read every book, attend every seminar, and understand every principle. But until you act, nothing changes. Action is the bridge between who you are today and who you want to become. Action amplification starts with clarity. You need to know not just that you want change, but exactly what change you are pursuing and why. Every step you take should be aligned with your new mindset. If your thoughts have shifted, your actions must reflect that shift immediately. Small, consistent steps toward your goal compound into momentum, and momentum is unstoppable. It is not enough to plan or prepare endlessly. The moment to act is now. Even imperfect action is more powerful than perfect inaction. Taking action also means embracing discomfort. Growth is not comfortable. Change is not comfortable. The first steps are always the hardest because they push you into the unknown, away from the familiar safety of routine and habit. But discomfort is the signal that you are moving in the right direction. Fear, resistance, and hesitation are not enemies. They are indicators that the action you are taking matters. The people who achieve extraordinary results do not avoid discomfort. They lean into it, using it as fuel to propel themselves forward. Another critical part of action amplification is decisiveness. Too often, people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect conditions. That moment rarely comes. The power is in making a decision and committing fully, even if uncertainty exists. Decisive action creates clarity, energy, and momentum that no amount of planning can generate. Every decision, even small ones, builds confidence and reinforces the belief that you are capable of creating the life you want. Action validates your mindset. It turns theory into reality. Consistency is equally important. One bold move can start change, but repeated focused actions are what sustain it. Success is not a single event. It is the accumulation of deliberate choices made over time. Show up every day for yourself, align your actions with your new mindset, and refuse to let distractions or doubts derail you. Action amplification is not about reckless speed. It is about relentless, intentional progress. It is about proving to yourself that you are committed, capable, and willing to do what it takes. Finally, action brings transformation that thought alone cannot deliver. When you act, you build confidence, resilience, and momentum. You see possibilities where you once saw limits. You become someone who no longer waits for life to happen. You make it happen. Day 3 is the culmination of awareness and responsibility. It is the moment where your mindset becomes tangible, where your life begins to shift in ways that are visible, measurable, and undeniable. The world responds to those who do, and when you commit to action fully, your life will never be the same again. Fear is not the enemy. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid it, pretending it doesn't exist, or hoping it will disappear if they ignore it. But fear is a signal, a guide, and a powerful tool if you learn to use it correctly. Every time you feel your heart race, your stomach tighten, or doubt creep in, that is your mind telling you that you are on the edge of growth. The exact things that scare you the most are often the very things that will push you toward your highest potential. The people who succeed, who achieve greatness, and who transform their lives do not live without fear. They harness it, they channel it, and they let it drive them forward instead of holding them back. Think about the times you avoided something because it felt uncomfortable. Maybe it was speaking up, taking a risk, or going after a big goal. Fear whispered that you couldn't do it, that it was too risky, that you weren't ready. And so you stayed in the familiar, the safe, and the predictable. But in that moment, fear became a cage. The same feeling that stops most people can be your greatest fuel if you change how you interpret it. Fear is information. Fear tells you that what you are about to do matters. It tells you that your comfort zone is too small. It tells you that growth, progress, and transformation lie on the other side. The mindset of growth turns fear into a compass. Instead of seeing it as a barrier, you see it as a signal pointing toward opportunity. You start to feel the energy in fear and recognize it as power waiting to be used. Every time you lean into that discomfort, every time you take action, despite the racing heart or the trembling hands, you prove to yourself that fear is not a wall, it's a bridge. The more you practice this, the more fear loses its ability to paralyze you and gains the ability to propel you forward. You start to see fear not as a reason to stop, but as a reason to act. Using fear as fuel also transforms your confidence. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is action in the presence of fear. Every time you step forward when your instincts scream to retreat, you build an inner strength that cannot be shaken. You begin to trust yourself in the moments that once made you doubt yourself. You realize that fear is not a signal that you are incapable. It is proof that you are about to stretch beyond your current limits, that you are about to become more than you were yesterday. The most successful people in the world have mastered this principle. They don't wait for fear to vanish. They act in spite of it. They use it as a catalyst, as fuel, as the spark that lights their fire. When you adopt this mindset, fear no longer controls your life. It energizes you, sharpens your focus, and drives you toward your goals with intensity. The fear you once feared becomes the fuel that powers your transformation. And when you can consistently harness it, you will realize that there is nothing outside of you capable of stopping the person you are becoming. The way you speak to yourself matters more than almost anything else in your life. Most people underestimate the power of their own inner dialogue. They fill their minds with doubt, criticism, and fear, and then wonder why their actions don't align with their goals. Every word you say to yourself, every thought you nurture, shapes your reality in ways you often don't even notice. Your self-talk can either be the chain that holds you back or the fuel that propels you forward. Resetting it is not optional if you want to change your life. It is essential. For years, you may have repeated phrases like, "I'm not ready," "I can't do this," or "I'll never succeed." These aren't just harmless thoughts. They are commands to your subconscious mind. They influence the decisions you make, the risks you take, and the energy you bring into every situation. Your mind does not distinguish between encouragement and criticism. It acts on what it hears. If you constantly tell yourself that you are limited, small, or incapable, that is exactly how your life will feel. But if you start speaking to yourself as your strongest ally, everything begins to change. Resetting your self-talk requires conscious effort. It means noticing the negative, judgmental, or fearful thoughts as they arise and immediately choosing a new narrative. Instead of, "I can't," you say, "I will find a way." Instead of, "I'm not enough," you say, "I am capable and I am growing every day." These are not empty affirmations. They are statements of action and intention that shape your brain, your habits, and your results. Every time you redirect your inner dialogue, you strengthen a mindset of possibility, resilience, and confidence. The transformation happens gradually, but the impact is profound. When you speak to yourself with encouragement and clarity, you start to notice opportunities that were invisible before. You take risks that once felt impossible. You persevere through setbacks instead of being crushed by them. Your energy changes, and others around you respond to it. Confidence becomes contagious, focus becomes sharper, and momentum builds naturally. Your inner voice sets the tone for every decision and every interaction, and when it becomes supportive instead of destructive, your life begins to reflect that shift. It's also important to understand that self-talk is a reflection of how much you respect and value yourself. When you speak kindly and decisively to yourself, you are treating yourself as a person worth investing in. You are signaling to your subconscious mind that you deserve success, growth, and happiness. Conversely, if your inner dialogue is harsh, dismissive, or critical, you are programming yourself for limitation. Resetting your self-talk is an act of personal responsibility, courage, and self-respect, and it is one of the fastest ways to change the trajectory of your life. The key is consistency. Every day, in every situation, choose words that empower you. Catch the doubts, catch the fears, and replace them with statements of strength, clarity, and determination. Over time, this rewiring becomes automatic, and you will notice that your actions, your confidence, and your results all begin to align with the powerful, supportive inner voice you have cultivated. Self-talk is the quiet engine behind every achievement. Reset it, harness it, and it will transform your life in ways that nothing else can. The moment you truly see the person you want to become, everything in your life begins to shift. Most people wander through their days without a clear image of their future, and because of that, they wander through life without direction. Visualization is not daydreaming. It is not hoping or wishing. It is the deliberate act of creating a clear, vivid image of yourself as the person you are determined to become. When your mind has that clarity, it begins to work tirelessly, even subconsciously, to align your thoughts, habits, and actions with that vision. Picture yourself 1 year from now, fully living the life you desire. What does that version of you do differently? How do they speak, move, and carry themselves? What decisions do they make effortlessly? How do they handle challenges and setbacks? When you focus on these details, your brain begins to treat them as achievable, real possibilities. This is not fantasy. It is a neurological process. Your mind cannot fully distinguish between vivid imagination and reality, and when you visualize consistently, your brain starts preparing your body and mind to act in ways that align with that image. Visualization also creates momentum. When you have a clear target, every action you take becomes purposeful. Decisions that once felt confusing or overwhelming suddenly become obvious because they are aligned with the person you are becoming. Habits that once seemed difficult to adopt now feel natural because they are steps toward a version of yourself you can see, touch, and believe in. The more detailed your vision, the more magnetic it becomes, pulling you toward it and creating a sense of inevitability. It is equally important to feel the emotions of that future self. Don't just see the success, feel it. Feel the confidence, the energy, the clarity, and the pride that comes with living your desired life. Emotions anchor visualization into your body and mind, making it far more powerful than a simple mental image. When you combine vision with emotion, your brain is trained to recognize that this future is not just possible, it is essential. You stop sabotaging yourself because you are no longer living for the temporary comfort of now. You are living for the long-term reality of who you are becoming. Visualization also rewires your brain for resilience. Challenges, obstacles, and setbacks no longer feel insurmountable because your mind is already rehearsing solutions. You see the version of yourself who perseveres, adapts, and overcomes. This mental rehearsal strengthens neural pathways that translate into real-life action. Every time you visualize consistently, your brain becomes more confident, more decisive, and more capable of achieving the outcomes you desire. The most successful people in every field use this principle. They see themselves achieving goals, performing at their best, and living their purpose, and then they take the steps required to make that vision real. Visualization is the bridge between potential and action, between dreams and results. When you take the time to see yourself as the person you want to be and feel it deeply, you align your mindset, habits, and energy with the life you are destined to create. The clearer your vision, the faster your transformation becomes. One of the fastest ways to transform your life is to take a hard look at where your energy is going. Most people are completely unaware of the silent drains that slowly sap their motivation, focus, and progress. These are the toxic relationships, the unproductive environments, and the constant distractions that chip away at your time, your clarity, and your potential. You cannot create a life of excellence while allowing these energy drains to exist unchecked. The people, places, and things around you either lift you or pull you down. And the moment you recognize this, you gain the power to change the environment that shapes your life. Start with the people in your life. Notice how you feel after spending time with certain individuals. Do they leave you energized, inspired, and motivated? Or do they leave you drained, doubtful, and second-guessing yourself? Toxic relationships are not just emotionally exhausting. They limit your growth. They keep you small, reinforce your fears, and undermine your confidence. Eliminating these people is not cruelty. It is self-preservation. It is a declaration that you will not allow anyone to slow your progress or dim your light. Surround yourself instead with people who challenge you, push you, and believe in the possibility of your greatness, because energy is contagious. Environments matter just as much as the people around you. Your home, your workspace, and even the digital spaces you inhabit have a profound effect on your mindset. Cluttered, chaotic, or negative environments create internal friction and drain your mental energy. A disorganized space can make decision-making harder, stress higher, and focus nearly impossible. Conversely, environments that are clean, intentional, and aligned with your goals amplify your energy, spark creativity, and cultivate clarity. Choosing where you spend your time is not passive, it is strategic. Every corner of your life should reflect the life you are building. Distractions are the silent killers of progress. Social media scrolling, endless notifications, mindless entertainment, these are not harmless habits. They are deliberate diversions that steal your attention from what matters most. Energy is finite, and once it is depleted on things that don't serve you, you have less left for the work, focus, and decisions that actually move you forward. To transform your life, you must ruthlessly cut distractions, create boundaries, and protect your attention as if it were gold. Your results will only reflect the energy you invest in the right places. Eliminating energy drains requires courage because it often means making tough choices. It might mean distancing yourself from longtime friends, leaving a toxic work environment, or saying no to things that feel comfortable but aren't serving your growth. But every choice to protect your energy compounds. Every action builds momentum. The people, spaces, and habits you cut out of your life create space for opportunities, growth, and alignment with the person you are becoming. Ultimately, energy is the currency of transformation. You cannot spend it recklessly and expect to achieve extraordinary results. You must be deliberate, intentional, and uncompromising. Remove the people, places, and distractions that drain you, and watch how your clarity, motivation, and productivity skyrocket. When you protect your energy fiercely, you protect your potential, your focus, and your future. The moment you decide to cut what no longer serves you, you step into the life you've been capable of creating all along. Most people think transformation takes months, years, or even a lifetime. They assume that real change is slow, gradual, and often out of their control. But the truth is that change can happen fast, much faster than you think, if you commit fully and approach it with focus, intensity, and clarity. This is what I call the 3-day experiment. It's not a gimmick or a theory. It is a concentrated, deliberate practice used by elite performers to break through limitations. reset their mindset, and ignite momentum. In just 3 days, you can create shifts in your thinking and behavior that will ripple through the rest of your life. The first principle of the 3-day experiment is total commitment. You cannot dabble. You cannot try a little. Real transformation requires complete immersion. For these 3 days, you dedicate yourself fully to the process. You observe your thoughts, you own your actions, and you take decisive steps toward the person you want to become. This level of focus creates a pressure that forces clarity. When you are fully committed, your mind begins to cut through distractions and excuses, and you start seeing patterns, habits, and opportunities that were invisible before. The second principle is intensity. In these 3 days, every action, every thought, and every choice is intentional. You do not coast. You do not settle. You confront fear, doubt, and resistance head-on. You push past comfort because comfort is the enemy of transformation. When you operate with intensity, the neural pathways in your brain begin rewiring themselves to match the behaviors and mindset of a high-performing, unstoppable version of yourself. 3 days of intense, deliberate action is more powerful than months of inconsistent effort. The third principle is reflection. Transformation is not just about doing, it is about understanding. During the 3-day experiment, you pause to observe your responses, notice your progress, and adjust your approach as needed. You journal your thoughts, track your wins, and identify moments where fear or old habits try to creep back in. This reflection amplifies the learning, ensuring that every action is purposeful and that every breakthrough is internalized. The combination of action and reflection creates rapid, lasting change. The 3-day experiment also teaches the power of momentum. When you commit fully, operate intensely, and reflect consciously, you create a chain reaction that extends beyond these 3 days. You develop habits, clarity, and confidence that continue to influence your decisions long after the experiment ends. The 3 days are not the entire transformation. They are the ignition. They are the spark that sets the trajectory of your life in a new direction, accelerating your growth faster than you ever thought possible. Finally, the 3-day experiment proves that change is always possible. It challenges the narrative that transformation requires luck, timing, or external validation. It demonstrates that when you take full responsibility for your thoughts, energy, and actions, you are capable of altering your life in ways that feel immediate and undeniable. This is the power of commitment, focus, and intention condensed into a short, concentrated period. If you are willing to go all in for 3 days, you will see and feel the difference, and it will change the way you approach every moment moving forward. Transformation does not happen in the safe zones. Growth does not come from doing what is easy or convenient. Most people want success, change, and fulfillment, but they want it to feel comfortable along the way. That is a contradiction. Real transformation demands discomfort. It requires stepping into situations that test you, challenge you, and sometimes make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. Choosing commitment over comfort means prioritizing your future self over your present ease, and it is one of the most powerful decisions you can make. Comfort is seductive because it feels safe. It lulls you into routines that are predictable, familiar, and painless. But it is also a prison. The longer you stay in comfort, the more your potential shrinks, and the further you move away from the life you are capable of creating. Every breakthrough in history, every remarkable achievement, has come from people who chose to act in spite of discomfort, who leaned into the pressure, and who refused to settle for what was easy. Commitment over comfort is the mindset that separates those who dream from those who achieve. Choosing commitment over comfort is not about recklessness. It is about prioritizing what matters most and aligning your daily actions with the life you want to build. It means making decisions that feel uncomfortable today because they will yield extraordinary results tomorrow. It might mean waking up early when your body wants to sleep, having difficult conversations when your instinct is to avoid them, or taking risks that your mind is screaming are too dangerous. Every moment you choose commitment over comfort, you train yourself to embrace challenge instead of fear, and that is where true power is born. Discomfort is the measure of growth. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Every time you push through fear, uncertainty, or pain, you expand the boundaries of what you believe is possible. You begin to see that the limitations you once thought were fixed are actually fluid. You start to understand that your potential is not determined by comfort or convenience, but by persistence, courage, and the willingness to act despite resistance. Choosing commitment over comfort rewires your mind and body to operate at a higher level, turning obstacles into opportunities and resistance into fuel. This mindset also changes how you approach setbacks. When you are committed to growth, failure is no longer devastating. It is feedback. Discomfort becomes a signal that you are stretching, that you are leaving your comfort zone, and that you are moving closer to your goals. Each difficult choice, each moment of resistance, and each challenging experience becomes a stepping stone toward the life you want to create. Comfort might feel good temporarily, but commitment brings fulfillment, achievement, and transformation that lasts a lifetime. Living with commitment over comfort is not easy, and it is not meant to be. It requires discipline, courage, and relentless focus. But every day you choose growth over ease. Every time you prioritize what matters over what is convenient, you transform not just your actions, but your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone capable, resilient, and unstoppable. And once you adopt this mindset, there is no turning back. Comfort may beckon, but your commitment drives you forward, and that is what makes extraordinary lives possible.